All right, so this week we discussed a few different theorems, right? Continuing with our triangle congruence theorems. So for your warm-up, we're going to do a theorem review. So there are some blanks that I would like you to please fill in or attempt as best that you can. Okay, so again, you have two triangles for the first set, and then you have two triangles for the second one. These are reviewing the two additional theorems that we discussed this week. So I'll give you a few minutes. Again, try your best, and then we will go through them together. Those of you that just joined us, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and put that link for you in the chat. Otherwise, you are welcome to just jot this down in your notebook or on your computer. All right, I'll give you a couple minutes, guys. Go ahead. Great job so far, guys. I'll give you another about a minute and a half or so. Those of you just joining us, we are working on our warm-up. So we are reviewing our theorems that we added this week for our triangle congruence. So you are filling in the blanks as best you can. And those of you just joining us, welcome. The link to the Class Kick site, if you would like to do that, is in the chat for you. I'll give you about a minute and a half, guys. I'll give you about 30 more seconds to just get as far as you can. These are looking great. 30 more seconds. All right, if you guys want to finish up with whatever part you're working on, we're going to go ahead and go through these blanks then. And we'll talk about just a couple key pieces as well. All right, so if you want to pause, if you're still working on it, let's start with the first one. Okay, so given two triangles, it can be shown that they are congruent by showing that two angles and A. Now, if you take a look, guys, at what I have under here, now most of you had side, and it is a side, you are correct. However, with this new theorem for this week, notice the keyword in front of it. It is a non-included side, and that is important. Okay, so non-included side. Because if you just say side, then you kind of open it up to possibly another one of our triangle congruence theorems. Okay, so non-included side. All right, so now we're kind of filling in the pieces here that make this up. So since angle A is congruent to angle D, you guys can see those markings there. Angle B is congruent to angle E, right? And then we have our segment, and that is going to be filled in with AC right down there. And again, notice how it is a non-included side. What that means, non-included, it is not in between the two angles that are congruent. Okay, so then we can say our two triangles are congruent. And notice the order of the triangle vertices, that is also important. It has to be in this order, right? Because that's telling you that those corresponding parts are equal. Okay, so this is one of our new theorems for this week. It is angle-angle side congruence theorem. And again, it tells you that order as well. Angle, angle, and then that non-included side. All right. The second one here. So two right triangles, again, notice you have those right angle symbols, are congruent if they're hypotenuses and one pair of legs. Okay, so it can be either leg, doesn't matter, but it has to be that those corresponding pieces there are congruent. Okay, so let's fill in the rest here. So if BC is congruent to EF, okay, notice those are the hypotenuses, so that's that first piece, and AC is congruent to DF, then because we have those right angles as well, we have the two triangles congruent. And that is that second theorem. I didn't have you fill in this component, but it's that HL, so hypotenuse leg triangle congruence theorem. So we'll be working with these two today. We'll also be practicing some of our older ones from week 11 as well. So kind of bringing everything full circle. Okay, pause here just for a moment, and then we will get into our other examples. All right, let's keep going. So week 12, guys, you have a summative. It is just a summative. You do not have a formative this week. So we have our learning objectives. I can use AAS and HL triangle congruence to prove that pairs of triangles are congruent and apply those theorems to triangles in a coordinate plane. Before we move on to our examples, I just want to remind everybody that week 12 is a long week, so it actually goes into your 2 days next week. So next week is not week 13. Okay, and I will make sure to remind you guys of that when we are done with our examples as well. All right, so example 1, getting you guys ready for those questions up there. Notice it is quite a few of them. So you have 8 total questions on this week's summative. So practicing your different angle and side lengths and corresponding parts and all of those triangle congruence theorems. Okay, so down here we have 2 triangles. So for the triangles shown, state which additional congruency statement is needed to prove that those 2 triangles are congruent for the given theorem. So what you're doing, notice what you have already. You have those bottom 2 sides congruent and you have right angles. So if you were to prove this using SAS, what additional pair of something would have to be congruent? So that's what you're listing for me. Okay, so you're going to work through all 4 of these. Again, what additional either angle pair or side or leg pair would have to be congruent in order to use this? Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes. You're going ahead and you're writing that congruence statement. Go ahead. Those of you just coming in, welcome. I'm going to put that link in the chat box for you. All right, I'll give you a few minutes, guys. Great job so far, guys. Again, you are writing what else you would need to be congruent in order for this theorem to be used to prove that the triangles are congruent. All right, so again, what additional piece would you need? Give you another minute and a half. Make sure when you're writing your pair that you are specific as well. Remember, these triangle congruence theorems, order is important, okay, of the items that you are showing are congruent. Okay, give me another minute. All right, about 30 seconds, guys, to finish up. All right, if you want to kind of pause or finish up with whatever part you are working on, we are going to go ahead and go through it so you can fill in any missing pieces that you need. All right, so we're going to start with the first one. So if we want side, angle, side, and again, order is important, right? We need a side, an angle, and a side. And again, it has to be in that order. So the two sides that we would need then congruent would be EC is congruent to EF, right? And it has to be that side. It cannot be the hypotenuse because then you would have side, side, angle in that order. Okay, so it has to be this pair. All right, the next one, so this was one of our new ones for this week, the hypotenuse leg theorem. So if you take a look, notice we can use this one. We have a right angle in both of our triangles. So it only works with right triangles. We also have a leg. So in order to use the hypotenuse leg theorem, the hypotenuses then would have to be congruent. Okay, so that congruent statement would look like this. AC then is congruent to DF. Okay, the next one then, again, one of our new ones for this week, angle, angle, side. And based on what we have there, we would need that additional angle, right? Because we have our right angles, we have our side, so it would have to be angle C is congruent to angle F. Again, it has to be that angle because that side has to be that non-included side. All right, and then the last one, angle side angle. So this is one from last week. We would need those other two angles congruent. So angle A is congruent to angle D. All right, so I'll pause here for a moment. Feel free to jot down anything that you missed, or if you have questions, remember, just start it, and we will have time at the end to discuss. All right, just a reminder, guys, this is recorded, so I will be posting this right after our live class today. So let's move on then, example number 2. Okay, getting you guys ready for questions 1 and 8 there. Okay, so without doing any additional calculations, determine if you can use the angle, angle, side theorem, so one of our new ones for this week, to prove the triangles are congruent. Okay, if not, is there a different triangle congruence theorem from last week or this week, meaning your HL, that would work? Okay, so just looking at what you have. Remember, make no assumptions. However, if you have things like angle pairs from previous weeks that you know are congruent, that sort of thing, that is okay. So again, can you use angle, angle, side? If not, is there another triangle congruence theorem that would work? All right, I'll give you a few minutes. Go ahead. Remember, order is important. These are looking great. I'll give you guys another minute and a half. Again, you're determining, can you use angle side? And if you cannot, is there another triangle congruence theorem that would work based on the current markings or any additional component that you can identify? Okay, about a minute and a half. Give you about 30 seconds, guys, to finish up. Again, just get through whatever part you can, please. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, guys. Let's talk through this. Okay, so if you want to just pause where you're at, let's look at the first one. So take a look. Notice you have two pairs of angles and you have a non-included side, meaning the side is not in between the two angles. So this one would work. Okay, it's okay if you do not list all of the components like I have here. If you said yes, that is fine, okay? But note that this is why. So you have those two angles and then you have that non-included side, so it would work. Now the next one, notice you have two angles and a side as well. However, the side is the included side. It is not the non-included side, so angle side would not work. However, it would be one of our ones from last week, which is angle side angle. All right. The third one, notice you have one pair of angles and one pair of sides. You also have another pair of angles. Because of how these triangles are drawn, these two angles would also be congruent, and we call those vertical angles, right? And we've seen that a number of times through the last few weeks. So we would have the same situation actually as the last one, angle, side, angle. So not angle side, but it would be one of our ones from last week. Okay, and then the last one here, again, notice how the triangles are drawn. Notice you have right triangles, first of all. You have those markings are actually the hypotenuses, and they actually share a side using that reflective property. So this would actually be congruent by HL, or hypotenuse leg. Okay? All right, great. So we have one more example. Let's go there, and then we'll do some reminders and questions at the end. All right, so example 3, guys, the first one is done for you. So this is using our hypotenuse leg theorem from this week. So for each pair of triangles, identify the congruent hypotenuses and legs if they are given. If the triangles are definitely congruent by HL, write yes. If you cannot tell, write a question mark, or you can write no. Either one is okay. So again, the first one is done for you. Notice the hypotenuses are not given they are congruent, the legs are. So this one, you cannot tell. Okay, so just try to at least get through 2 of them. If you can't get through all 3, that's absolutely fine. I want to make sure we have enough time for questions. So I'll give you about 2 minutes, guys, okay? So get through at least a couple of them. Give you about 1 more minute. Again, try to get through at least 2 of them, and then we will go through it. All right, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to finish up with whatever one you're working on. Okay, as you're doing that, guys, I'm going to just start moving these boxes for us, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so I do have all of them moved. If we want to look at that second one first, notice the hypotenuses. You do know that they are congruent because of how those triangles are drawn, right? And you know that you have those right angles and the leg pair congruent. So you can identify that HL. Okay, for the third one in the bottom row, you are actually not given anything besides the right angles. Okay, notice those symbols there on A, B, and D. Those are parallel symbols. It does not mean that those sides are congruent. So you cannot identify that HL. And then the third one, you are given a couple pieces. Notice that midpoint. You do know that those legs are congruent. You have the hypotenuses identified and you have those right angles. So yes, you can. Good. All right, guys, so a couple reminders and then I will open it up for any questions. Okay, whoops. Again, week 12, guys, is a long week. It goes to next Tuesday, the 24th. So that summative is due by then. We do not have a live class next week. So just use that time to get caught up on any missing assignments because your target scores and progress reports for week 12 will be updated after the 24th. So anything that you want included in that, make sure you have in by the 24th. All right, those of you from Mrs. Burns's class, this is the last time that we will meet. Thank you so much for coming. She will be back after Thanksgiving break. If you do have questions, guys, you are welcome to hang on. I will open up the chat for you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day and a great week.